Do you ever feel stuck, like you're living your life on autopilot? Are you ready to shift into high gear and reach the success you so richly deserve? Welcome to the Play Big Movement podcast. I am your host, Sharon Lechter, entrepreneur, business strategist, and best-selling author. Playing big is not about settling for good enough or being comfortable. It is about reaching your highest potential and achieving your greatest success. Join me in my Play Big movement as I interview top experts in business, money, and entrepreneurship, all ready to serve you and to help you play big, be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. And I'm excited today to have a dear friend, Adam Markel. Thank you so much for being with me today, Adam.
My goodness, Sharon, what a pleasure.
And
I love any opportunity we get to hang out.
Well, you have quite the history, and he's now the CEO of what I love, the More Love Media. I love that, Adam. But his background, you started out as an attorney, right?
18 years. I feel like it should be a rap song, 18 years, 18 years.
And then he stepped into a whole new environment called personal development and success training, and led one of the largest companies in the world for many years and really helped it grow and impact millions of lives. And then he made the decision to part with that company and created More Love Media. And I'm excited to say that he has an incredible book called Pivot. So I highly recommend it. It's over his right shoulder in the video screen. So look out for it because it's a wonderful book and I highly recommend it. It's called The Art and Science of Reinventing Your Career and Life. And so those of you that know the Play Big Movement, it's all about me reinventing mine. So we support one another. We rhyme, I think. And Adam has a tremendous program in helping people learn how to speak. We were just talking about that before we went on air. So Adam, share a little bit more about Adam that is not in the bio.
Thank you. And I love that question. It's actually a question I love to ask guests as well. I'm a daddy. I
knew you were going to say that.
Did you actually know I was going to say that?
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. And a husband and married to my college sweetheart, 29 and a half years already. I just can't even fathom how that has happened. And well, I won't go there because it could get really emotional really fast. But those are really the most important things in my life, is the fact that we've been able to bring 4 kids into the world and that they're independent thinking and doing good things, contributing something. And I think that's just a wonderful part of my life that some people know about, not everybody knows about. And at the same time, even while being so blessed with a great marriage and 4 kids, I went through a period of time where I guess I could even look back and say I was depressed. I used to wake up in the morning and put my feet on the floor, much the way most of us do. And what a blessing that is, just to be able to wake up to begin with, to put our feet on the floor, be able to stand up on our own. I had a lot to be grateful for, but I would wake up and feel dread at the start of a day because for a lot of years, for 18 years, in fact, I was in a job. I had a profession. I had a business that I didn't love. I mean, I loved it at the beginning. I was enthusiastic for the first few years. And then it just became obvious that it wasn't my calling. And so at a certain point in my life, when I really was quite miserable and maybe even depressed at that time, I had all the signs of a classic midlife crisis. And in the end, I was able to navigate around having that crisis, instead have found a midlife calling, which became the subject of the book Pivot and enabled me to travel and share that work around the world, which has been a blessing.
And, for everybody watching and listening, you've had an incredible career, and they sit back and think, they might be saying, well, easy for him to say, but every step, I know my husband, when he retired, it was tough on him from a standpoint of he defined himself as an attorney with a corner office. And when he left the big firm and came home, he had an identity crisis because he was like, that's all he identified himself as, this patent attorney. And so there was a transition. So you spent 18 years investing in your expertise, and then you really stepped into a whole new world, right?
it's like it's 180 degree of a different world as you can imagine. And I love what you said about, I don't love that your husband was having a crisis of identity, but I think what's interesting there is that we all have that.
Mm-hmm.
We I think have been convinced that we're born with an identity. We all have gifts for sure. I truly believe that there's a very important purpose for every one of our lives, that there's nothing random or by accident, even if some people think they were an accident or they were told they were an accident or some other nonsense like that, that's not the real truth of it. But identity is a trickier thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe we're born with an identity. I think we develop that identity over time based on experiences and things. And when we're 18 years old, our identity is one thing. When we're 38, it's another thing. When we're 53, it's a different thing. When we're 72, it's yet another thing. Mm-hmm. So to think that you're going to maintain some identity from the time that you went to college, like, what do you want to do for a living? What do you want to be when you grow up, kind of, and that's going to be your identity from there to the end is not being set up for success. So it's interesting that when you get to the end of a career, or that there's a transition point or a pivot point, like with your husband retiring from the law, that there's this opportunity then to examine who you are in that moment. What is your true identity then? And then what is it that you're called to do? And you've been a master of that, a master of reinvention and of creating identity, or I guess really being true to your identity, and then using that as a vehicle to help other people.
Well, I think, and this is where you and I also are very aligned, because both of us were sitting at the top of very large organizations and a height of success, and then made the decision that it was, for me, I was no longer aligned with my partner in what we wanted to do with the company. So I had to step away from that, which is hugely, I thought Rich Dad was my legacy, and all of a sudden it was like, I can't stay here anymore. And then I had to say, okay, how do I pivot and redefine my life and reestablish Sharon Lechter outside of Rich Dad? And of course I had the opportunity to do that by serving on the President's Council. But that in between time, you're sitting there in this cesspool of, this is the right choice, but what have I done? What have what's next? What's next? And then of course the negativity you have to deal with. So, and you had, probably a very similar transition from being at the top of this major company to deciding what Adam was going to lead the charge for, right?
It can be a swampy time. I don't know. I've never said that before, but just when I was listening to you speaking about it, and then also viscerally feeling what that in-between period, I think in Dante's Inferno, it's limbo. Yeah. It's that in-between place. And on the tennis court, it's between the baseline and the net. It's called no man's land. It can be a really dangerous place for the psyche. It can be a dangerous place for your emotional health and a number of things when your alignment is off. And so for me, just like you, for a number of years, my alignment was off within the organization that I was running. And you can ignore that. I mean, I ignored that a long time as a lawyer. And I just, it took my daughter, our second oldest daughter, Lindsay, on a trip. We were in Paris, and she took me out. Well, she asked me to go out for lunch and get a coffee. It's like, oh, this is so great. She just graduated from UCLA. She wants some daddy advice, right? That's what I was thinking. Well, couldn't have been more wrong. She didn't want to ask my advice. She wanted to give me some. Yeah, she had advice for me. She was holding up the mirror and said, Dad, you're doing it again. You're exhausted, and we never see you, and you're irritable. And, this should remind you of another time in your life. And sure enough, 6 months later, I was, we were making the pivot, and I was exiting and all that kind of thing. So out of the mouths of babes, right? That's just,
I tell you, and in fact, this is the first I've heard this from you, but I also share, Adam, that it was when I had made the decision to leave Rich Dad, but things turned not so wonderful. And it was my son, my youngest son, the one that I lost, who said, is this what you want to teach us? I'm your son. Are you going to teach me just to let people treat you this way? And it was like a real wake-up call. And it was that conversation that made me say I had to stand in my own power and stand in the truth and stand up for myself. So it is amazing the kind of input you get from your kids, and they see they see what you're going through, and it is, whatever you're doing is a lesson to them, either positive or negative, right?
Yeah, this is a funny thing that I love to share with folks. Parenting is great. It's one of those things. Kids don't come with a manual. We know that they don't come with an instruction manual. We do the best we can. I said, but they never listen to a word we say. They, at least our kids, never listen to a word we say, but they watch. They watch everything we do. So it is remarkable when they get old enough and they're empowered, and they
All of a sudden, you get a lot smarter when they're in their mid-20s. All of a sudden, mom and dad are a whole lot smarter than they used to be.
Yeah.
But, and congratulations, 29 and a half years. That's fantastic. Mike and I just celebrated 38. So for everybody watching and listening, this is when you have that dedication to your family, your spouse, but you also have that dedication to making a difference. And I know of all the people that I've been interviewing, the people that every one of them gives back and is very committed to supporting others. And Adam, you definitely do that. When we talk about someone that's watching and listening right now, that's in that, what I call cesspool of, they've made a change, but they're still not finding their footing. What kind of advice can you give to them?
Well, I'll follow the lead that you started when you spoke about alignment. So that thread, I think, is really important to follow, that we have to feel alignment. And I don't know how to, there's no one way to explain what alignment is for you, because it's an individual feeling, but to be in that inquiry, to be curious, to be looking for the creative opportunities that are presented in every moment. If you're quiet, if you're still, if you can hear your own inner voice. And I think that's something that a lot of people are so busy these days. They're so frantic taking care of responsibilities and paying bills, or, whatever it is that they're working on, that they don't have enough still time. There's not enough time for them to actually tune into that inner guidance. So alignment is very much your purpose. So when you think about purpose driving an organization, driving whatever you do in life. So if your purpose is to be a great parent, that's one purpose. To be a great husband or wife or partner, that's another purpose. And clearly, when you're able to know that your business has the potential to impact lives in a positive way, to define that, to really get deep into what does it look like for our business to make a difference. And that's an alignment that's all about being purpose driven. And I think for anybody that's in that in-between stage, the great news about being in between is that there is this opportunity to get quiet and to explore further. So when I was sort of in between, or not sort of, was in between, I went for long walks. I used to listen to Audible books. I would do some reading. I would get to places where my mind would want to take over with what if scenarios and all the stuff of, the ego stuff that says, well, what's next? And how will you define yourself? And how will people know you? Whatever nonsense that was. But I resisted that urge to let my ego drive the bus, and instead stayed quiet. And then things became clear. Our foundation got set up at that time. We love the work we do to cultivate peace. And our business model was created, and didn't get created overnight, but after several months of not only being still, but also then being called to speak to certain people, to even to look for guidance. Like I hired a coach. I hired somebody who's very, very experienced on the side of business, organizational planning. And she was incredible. And I actually just saw her the other day, an amazing woman. So I think it's the kind of thing that no matter what age you are, no matter what experience level you are, no matter how many mountains you've climbed and seen the summit of, I think when you're unclear, that's the first half of the book, Pivot, is all about creating clarity. The second half is about momentum. You cannot go anywhere, and you certainly can't go there quickly if you're not clear, if you can't see well. So if you don't have clarity, get help, ask for help. It's I think it's a great sign of strength to bring on board people who can help you to get your clarity.
And I just love what you just shared, because getting clarity, but also being purpose driven and being in alignment with who you are. And sometimes, you can know you've made the right decision, but still feel out of control. And you talked about getting help. I know when I made the decision to leave Rich Dad, it was It was people that reached out to me, Mark Victor Hansen, Brian Tracy, people that said, I'm here to support you and I want you to be there for you. That's what makes you realize that you've made the right decision and you have the opportunity. Instead of feeling like you're out of control, then change that mindset from negative, out of control, to I have an opportunity to create my own future, right?
Exactly. What is that? Asking that question, what is the creative opportunity? And I want to say this because I get the chance now publicly to do this, but you're one of those people for me, Sharon, that when that was all going on, there were folks that stepped up in the way of, hey, I'm holding space for you. I'm here for you. I understand. I've been in your shoes, whatever it was, but you're looking at me and saying, it's like, I've got your back kind of thing. That was the feeling I got from you. And you also gave me, some, I think, very valuable advice at the time when it comes to how you sometimes end relationships is just as important as how you begin them. Mm-hmm. And to end those things in the best way possible, and the most elegant way possible, with the least amount of disruption is really a positive. I mean, that was just great advice. And I want to thank you for that, Sharon.
Well, you're very welcome. And it was my pleasure and honor. Pleasure may not be the right word, but it was my, having been there and done that, you can really feel someone when you've already been through the same process. And it's something that you have choices. You have choices on how you can handle things. I mean, I could have come out of the box and said a lot of negative things and shared a lot of things publicly that I chose not to do. And, it's everybody has a choice. And the question is, where do you want your future to go? And I realized very quickly that, Rich Dad was just a stepping stone in my intended purpose, and that there was so much more for me to do. And then, a year ago, when I lost the young son I'm talking about 5.5 years ago, I pretty much went into neutral and didn't really drive like I had the rest of my career. And so a year and a half ago, I started thinking about retiring. I didn't feel very good. I got a lot of pushback from family and friends. And so I was still busy. I was pretty busy, but I wasn't driving and playing big like I had before and looking for big partners. And so I think I got a little pushback from my son too, saying, get over it, Mom. There's more for you to do. But that was the launch of the Play Big movement, which I started earlier this year. And certainly as we are talking now, it's, I want people to see what I'm doing so that they can do it too. Because what worked for me 10 years ago won't work today. And that's the same thing with you, Adam. You're recreating an incredible opportunity for people to learn from you and to learn from someone who's been there and done that. And I want to have you talk on that, because we both have long-term marriages, we both have families we love, but we also we're both teaching what we know and what we've done and what we've done successfully for years. And there's so many people out there today trying to fake it till they make it, right?
Oh, my goodness.
Please talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's just one of those funny moments. We were sitting around the fire pit last night. I had a friend over and we were smoking a cigar. Yeah, I don't smoke them very often, but I really enjoy them a lot, actually. And we were having this conversation about how many people there are in our industry that were brought up on that fake it till you make it thing and took it to the extreme. And we were trying to figure out exactly, where's the fine line between wanting to wear your success ahead of it, because there's something to the fact that, and Napoleon Hill taught about this, that
dress the part. Yeah,
exactly. There's an element of faith and trust and in yourself and in spirit and in the universe, that the things that you most want can materialize through your thinking as well as through your actions and all that. And where's the line between that and being inauthentic, being a fake or a fraud? And I think that, to me, I don't really love the word authenticity anymore. I think it's been watered down, but I do still dig the term transparency. Mm-hmm. So to the extent that people can be transparent, that there's power in that. There's power in vulnerability. I love Brene Brown's work on vulnerability and the research on that. And I think that for us, we're called a lot today to talk about the importance of resilience. So that we all have setbacks, that our ability to bounce back, our ability to learn lessons, to be able to mine for the insight, that we always have an opportunity in every mistake to find insight, and that insight's what enables us to continue to evolve, to iterate, to innovate. I mean, that's the essence of business, to make great mistakes so you learn great things. You can become greater in the process. Why should it be any different for, us individually? But there's no question that I think if I were going to give advice, as I guess I am at this moment, I would err on the side of being more transparent and let people know that, not so much that you are faking it until you make it, because I don't even like that term anymore, but more or less that you're not perfect, that you've made mistakes, that you still make them daily. You made one yesterday. I made one before I came on stage. I mean, it's that, so that people understand that what they're seeing is who you truly are. And that way, if what you're saying makes sense to them, if it resonates with them, if they can feel your heart, they can feel your energy. I mean, that's in essence the art. If there's an art and an art to speaking, it's that we learn how to close the gap between ourselves and other people, that we're more presence than we are pretense.
Mm-hmm.
So the thing about faking it is that it's pretense. I don't know how you will do well in enrolling other people in your business, meaning to sell them products or services, or to have them join your community and be rabid fans of what you're up to, and support you if they can't feel you for real, if they don't know who you actually are. I don't see that happening.
Well, I think it's also
old
changed.
paradigm.
Yeah, I think it's actually also changed in the industry. I don't know if you would agree with me, Adam, but a few years ago, I think it was, delivering the shtick, delivering the content. But I think today the audience really wants that transparency. They want you to be more vulnerable. And so for me, I was really more delivery of content and not being vulnerable for many years. And in just the last couple of years, I've actually been more open and more transparent. And you see a huge response. You see people that really understand, they engage in a much bigger and much more familiar way. They all of a sudden they feel like they've known you forever. So, and they say, they'll come up and say, I feel like you were speaking just to me. And there's nothing better than that. So Adam, people want to hear from you and they want to find you. How do they find you? And I just love the whole pivot concept. And I like the word resiliency. We talk usually about never giving up, but I think resiliency is a step beyond that, because you've learned from the mistakes. I say there are no mistakes, just learning opportunities. So if people want to learn more from Adam, how do they find you?
Well, there's two great ways. I really love questions. And it's funny because I used to sort of hate being questioned as a lawyer. I wanted to do the questioning. I didn't want to be questioned, kind of thing. You probably can relate to that with
your
hubby, right?
Questions is in control, right?
Yes, exactly. So we have 6 really powerful questions that we ask of people. And this is in the form of a kickstart guide. It's a pivot kickstart guide. So those folks, like you said, it might be in that sort of swampy area and they don't know exactly what's next. They don't have the clarity to know which way next. These questions will really help them. So whether it's a business pivot or something personal, they can go to startmypivot.com, startmypivot.com, and get that for free. And there's no offer there. It's just something that we love, that it's helped people. We developed it for that purpose, and we succeeded, I think, to a greater extent. And then adammarkel.com if they want to find out more about the book or the things that we're up to, and obviously our community is one that, as you said, there's like a Venn diagram of the people that resonate with your message and how you teach and your heart. And I think we have a sliver of that as well, of people that really love what we stand for and want to have more of it. So, yeah. And
for everybody watching and listening, Adam and I are talking about doing a few things together. So keep your eyes and ears open, and know that I'm always here to support you, Adam, and I appreciate you being with me today. And he's going to hang out for a minute. We're going to bring him back to do a little more personal interview for the private Facebook group. So if you've not joined, please do. The Play Big Movement with Sharon Lechter. So thank you so much, Adam.
What a
And
pleasure.
we're going to go ahead and say, have a great day to everybody that's watching and listening. And we'll be back in a moment. Thank you for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Please subscribe to iTunes and leave us a review, as well as join us in other areas of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sharon Lechter, and for Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.